Welcome to the Eat This Book podcast. I'm Michael Whitworth. Each day we take a small piece of scripture and we sit with it. Not a quick snack that disappears before lunch, not a chore you check off of a list, but rather a meal meant to be savored. So pull up a chair. Let's eat. During a total solar eclipse, something strange happens. The moon slides in front of the sun and the world goes dark, but not completely. Around the black disk, a ring of white fire appears, the corona. It's always there, always blazing, but you can never see it under normal conditions because the sun's surface is too bright. It takes an obstruction, a shadow, to reveal the hidden glory that was streaming outward all along. The writer of Hebrews reaches for an image like that when he describes the sun. Except the sun isn't hidden glory suddenly revealed. He is the radiance itself, God's glory streaming toward us in a form we can actually perceive. We're in the third verse of Hebrews now, and the author still hasn't taken a breath. Each phrase adds another layer to the Son's identity. He is God's final word. He is heir of all things. He is the agent of creation. And now he is the radiance of the glory of God. The Greek word is apaugasma, and it appears nowhere else in the entire New Testament. This is the only time a biblical writer reaches for this particular term. It means something like radiance or effulgence, the light that streams outward from a source. Not reflected light, the way the moon borrows brightness from the sun, but inherent light, light that belongs to the source and carries the source's own nature wherever it travels. That distinction matters enormously. A reflection can be distorted. A mirror can be cracked or angled or clouded. Radiance is the source reaching you directly. When you feel the warmth of sunlight on your face, that warmth is not a copy of the sun. It is the sun. Its energy crossing 93 million miles to touch your skin. The beam and the source share one nature. Hebrews is saying that's the sun. He doesn't merely tell you about God the way a prophet reports what he has seen. He is God's glory in motion, the divine nature streaming outward, arriving where you are in a form you can encounter without being destroyed. That last part matters because glory in the Old Testament was dangerous. When God's glory filled the tabernacle, Moses couldn't enter. When it descended on Sinai, the people begged to hear no more. When Isaiah saw the Lord's glory filling the temple, he cried out that he was undone, a man with unclean lips in the presence of a holy God. Even Moses, who spoke with God face to face, was told he couldn't see God's full glory and live. He was hidden in the cleft of a rock and allowed to see only the trailing edge, the afterglow, if you will. Glory in the Old Testament is the weight of God's presence made visible, and it overwhelms everything it touches. The Hebrew word kavod carries the sense of heaviness, substance, undeniable reality. When God's glory shows up, buildings fill with smoke, mountains tremble, and people fall flat on their faces. And the writer of Hebrews says the sun is that glory, not diminished, not diluted, but radiated, reaching you. The same glory that drove Moses into the rock and silenced Israel at Sinai has taken on a face, a voice, hands that break bread and touch lepers. The unapproachable has made himself approachable, not by becoming less glorious, but by radiating that glory through a person. There's a quiet revolution in this phrase. The Old Testament asks over and over where God's glory dwells. It dwells in the tabernacle. It dwells in the temple. It departs. Ezekiel watches it leave, rising from the threshold and heading east, abandoning Jerusalem to its destruction. The prophets ache for its return. When will the glory come back? Hebrews answers, it came back in a person. The glory didn't return to a building, it took on flesh. The sun is the temple now, the place where God's kavod dwells permanently, not behind a curtain, not on a mountain shrouded in cloud, but in a life that can be witnessed and known. This is why John, who walked with Jesus, would later write that we have seen his glory, glory as of the only Son from the Father. He wasn't speaking in metaphor, he meant it. The radiance was there, in the room, eating fish on the beach. And here's what this means for how you see God. If the sun is the radiance of God's glory, not a reflection, not a representation, but the actual streaming forth of who God is, then to look at the sun is to see the Father. Not partially, not approximately, but fully. When the sun touches an outcast, that is the glory of God in action. When he weeps at a graveside, that is what the divine nature looks like confronting death. When he forgives from a cross, that is the kavod of God made visible in the most unlikely place imaginable. You don't have to squint past the sun to find the real God hiding somewhere behind him. The radiance is the source, reaching you. Here's what I think we should savor from this passage today. God's glory is not locked away. The whole arc of the Old Testament seems to place glory at a distance, behind curtains, on mountaintops, in clouds of smoke that say, "Keep back." But the radiance of that glory has come near. The sun is God's glory in transit, arriving where ordinary people live. The distance has been closed. Also, radiance is not reflection. This isn't a second-hand God. The sun doesn't approximate the Father the way a photograph approximates a person. He carries the Father's nature the way sunlight carries the sun's energy. Fully, directly, without loss. When you encounter the sun, you are not settling for less than God. You are receiving God as he has chosen to give himself. The unapproachable becomes approachable without becoming less. Moses hid in a rock. Isaiah trembled. The people at Sinai backed away, and the sun sat down at dinner tables with sinners and said, "Come." The glory didn't diminish. The delivery changed. If you've always thought of God as distant, enthroned somewhere far off, impressive but unreachable, this phrase dismantles that picture. Radiance, by definition, moves towards you. The sun is God in motion, closing the gap, arriving at your door. You don't have to climb the mountain. The glory came down. If you've been hurt by distorted images of God, if the people who represented him to you were harsh or cold or manipulative, this passage draws a line between radiance and reflection. Human mirrors crack. The sun doesn't. Whatever you were shown by broken people, the radiance of God's glory looks like the person you meet in the Gospels. Fierce in love, gentle with the wounded, unafraid of the mess. If you carry shame that makes you feel unfit for God's presence, the kind of shame that says you'd burn up if he really saw you, remember that the glory which terrified Israel at Sinai is the same glory that knelt to wash dusty feet. The radiance hasn't changed, but it has come to you in mercy, not in judgment. You can stand in this light. If you're trying to figure out what God is actually like, sorting through competing theologies and loud voices all claiming to speak for him, Hebrews offers a remarkably simple filter. Look at the sun. He is the radiance. If an image of God doesn't look like Jesus, it isn't the glory of God you're seeing. It's a distortion. If your faith has become abstract, doctrines you believe but don't feel, truths that you affirm but can't touch, this verse pulls everything back into focus. The glory of God is not a concept, it's a radiance, and radiance is warm. It reaches skin. It lights rooms. The sun is theology with a heartbeat, glory that you can know by name. Next time on Eat This Book, if you could see God clearly, what would you see? Hebrews answers, the sun is the exact imprint of his nature. Not a guess, not a reflection, but the real thing. Join me as we discover what it means that God has pressed his own image into the world. Thanks for eating with me. Until next time, may the word dwell in you richly.